We told you, didn't we? I told you. We all told you Mercedes are cheating. Anyway, we'll move on to everything in a minute. Today marks the day where 2 drivers in red affect my mood on these podcasts for the rest of the season. Anyway, it's been the Australian Grand Prix, and it's VFL. Come on.
Yes, hello, welcome back. Formula One is back in our lives, and I've got to be honest, I really enjoyed that race. We'll go through a little bit of it in a moment, but in fact, let's go to it now, because there are some pros and cons. What do you want first, Philip? Do you want my pros or do you want my cons?
Give me the cons first. Let's have the cons. Let's start off down and let's build up to the end, because we've got a few more races of this yet this season.
Yes, cons. Okay, cons. Qualifying is terrible. One thing we did learn from Saturday, if you'd have asked me my opinion on the new regulations on Saturday morning after I'd finished watching qualifying, then I would be dead against it, and I was already disappointed, and it's going to be rubbish, and blah, 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 and the world was terrible. A statistic to back that up, George Russell's time that got him pole yesterday, so we're recording this on Sunday, obviously just after the race, George Russell's pole time yesterday was 3.5 seconds slower than the one that Lando Norris got pole in Australia in 2025. So that's not good. These cars are meant to get better and it's meant to evolve. And I think the last time there was a time that was slower than Russell's was Valtteri Bottas in 2019. Now, I know we didn't have an Australian Grand Prix in 20 and 21, but that's still 6 years ago. That's 4 run-ins of the race.
To caveat, though, we know that the FIA brings in regulations to slow them down, to stop them from... Otherwise, we'd have hit 500 mile an hour or something stupid like that. Don't quote me on that. That was a flippant...
I get your point.
They're trying to slow them. And it's not about the times, it's about the racing, which we'll move on to in a bit.
Exactly. So qualifying's a con now. I don't mean it's a con as in... I mean, it's a negative. Qualifying's a negative now, I think, personally. Based on one race, we've got to caveat everything that we say here that we're basing this on one race. So qualifying's rubbish now. The start... Other thing as well, sorry, is I think that the torque spike and the brake spike, so what I'm referring to is obviously what happened to Max Verstappen in Q1 with the brake issue that wasn't a driver error, and what you're talking about with Oscar Piastri before the start of the race today is not a driver error as such. I think it's more of a driver error than Verstappen's, but I also think that there's a lot of either brake power going to the rears, which caused Verstappen's problem in qualifying, or a massive torque spike, which is just causing Piastri to do that. And let's be honest, Piastri's crash was nasty. That was pretty dangerous. So there's an element of driver error in that. He doesn't understand the new engines and whatever, but car shouldn't do that if it's dry. So there's another con. My last con is that the cars at the start of a race sound like an alley cat orgy. That noise at the start of the race was horrendous. Have you seen the episode of South Park where Cartman's cat is on heat and he's just strolling? It's like first and second stage. It's a really old episode. That's the first thing I thought when they were all starting, that pre-start thing. That's the first thing I thought. Yeah, that's the first thing I thought, which is maybe an indication of what goes through my mind. But yeah, so they are my cons.
We've prided ourselves on not using much bad language on this and almost being family friendly if your family accepts sarcastic, flippant, horrible comments from 2 old men. But I think you've already ruined that 5 minutes into the first race by referring to it as a cat orgy. No,
I stand by my comment. I stand by it.
Another con is the amount of clipping that's happening. Super clipping. We'll do a Phil Explains on that, by the way. I will do one this week and we'll release it. But yes, clipping seems to be a massive issue.
Yeah.
And super clipping and
my last con, and this is going to seem like a weird link, but anybody who's a football fan, one of the big things that everybody's got against VAR, if you stand with me, is the people in the crowd, in the actual ground, don't have a clue
don't know what's going on.
And Formula One has a worry of going into that, because we saw the graphics on the screen where it showed how much battery Russell, particularly towards the end. I think Sky figured it out towards the end when we saw the Norris Verstappen battle, and it was showing you what battery they had and who had overtaken and all this stuff. Great for us at home. If you're in the I have no idea how much battery, and because it's going to be so important this year. So they're my cons. They are my cons. My pros, though. The race was brilliant. That, for me, was... I'm a massive Formula One fan, obviously. But there have been races in the past where I have massively turned off from watching it. I've gone and done, cleaned my bathroom whilst the race was on because I'm that bored. And none of that today. I, honestly, hooked to it from start to finish. The fight in between Russell and Leclerc at the start, the fact that Russell even admitted in the post-race interviews, I know you won't have seen it, but Russell admitted in the post-race interviews that he was he'd messed up where he should have done the overtake, and that's where Leclerc just sort of breezed past him. And then even later on in the race, you saw a great battle between Norris and Verstappen, though there wasn't much overtaking in that one. You saw Lindblad and Behrman and obviously there was Gasly and Ocon, which was really fun. Yeah. Bortoletto is all through the field. We had overtakes. Right. And do you want a statistic? Sorry, and then I will let you. Do you want a statistic to back that up? In the Australian Grand Prix in 2025, there were 45 overtakes across the whole track. Now, this is a track that we famously said is difficult to overtake on. Mm-hmm. There were 120 today. 110 done by Leclerc and Russell on one another.
And the other's done by Verstappen on his way through. But
but nearly 3 times as many overtakes today. And for me, as a Formula One fan, make qualifying slower if you want, because it's still a case of who is the quickest, even if it's slower than last year. If you're going to give us the racing that we've had today at a loss to qualify, I'm all for that. And it might make sprints fun. Yeah. It might make sprints fun, though, because we're now actually in a world where we can overtake. So next week's going to be really interesting with the first sprint, but we'll talk about China in a bit. But for me, well happy with that. That's a great start. Minus the T-shirt and the hat that I've got on, but it's a great start.
Cons, I think we're still going to learn more. I think Pirelli went too conservative on the tyre choice. Now that might be slightly biased because of the jumper I'm wearing, okay? And I accept that, but it was too biased. Ferrari were able to run so long on those mediums, and then Mercedes one-upped them and ran even longer on the hard. I think that now we've got this overtaking, put cars back into each other. And what I mean by that is, it's very difficult for me. I forgot what Ferrari leading felt like. So it was a very weird morning for me. I actually thought I was dreaming at one point. But if we're going to have this extremity even between, let's say, the Mercedes, throw the Ferrari in just that they walked away at the start. They decided that they'd had enough and they would go. The easiest way to draw them into it is to put a tyre offset. Push them back into pit stops. So if you're going to go run away, you're going to cut your tyres. You're going to get pushed back into that midfield. Now, it's fake racing, you might say, but if we're opening up this new world where you can overtake wherever you want, and there was some moves that you'd never seen before, or were very rare. Leclerc went round the outside of Russell into that quick chicane round the back of the track. At least 3 times.
Well, who didn't overtake there? Do you know what I mean? That seemed to be a new... Yeah. That was around the outside going into... I can't remember which turn it is. I want to say it's 7 and 8. I know when... It used to be 9 and 10, but they've cut out that bit before it. So I want to say it's 7 and 8. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But the Brocky's Hill area, if anybody had been to Melbourne. And that was brilliant. Everybody was doing it there. And it was and again... I agree. Another con, that I did miss out on is that it's boring now. You know what I mean? With the rocket ships of Ferrari and Mercedes, it's just boring. We're quick.
Can I caveat that on it's one race and it's not a track that is fundamental to the season? I know the winner has usually gone on to win the championship, barring Leclerc, go Ferrari. But I don't think it's a standout track. It's very different to China that comes next, Japan that comes after that. If we do get Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, we're going to thoughts are with them, and we hope if the racing's this good, everyone's safe, and we can go ahead with that. But everything else after this is, I don't know which way it's going to go. So China's a power track, so you'd expect Mercedes to be quick there. But at least Ferrari were keeping up with them. Up until the weirdness on the safety cars, do you, don't you, pit lane shut, we got to go plan A, which I think Ferrari got it wrong. But I'm glad that they're in that situation that they attempted to go.
Well, that was going to be the question. Sorry, that was going to be my question actually. Did Ferrari mess this up in your eyes? Not pitting under any of the VSCs. I know the one that where the pit lane closed after Bottas's retirement. Obviously, that one.
And they were past the pit lane.
Yeah. So that's not their fault, I guess. But when they missed the first VSC opportunity, I thought to myself, I wondered. I almost had a headline for the episode of Ferrari do a Qatar in reference to obviously what McLaren did in Qatar last season by not pitting under the safety car. But I don't think it was as bad as that. I just wonder if they'd have taken it, would they have been in a better position towards the end of the race? Because then Mercedes did, of course, run off.
I think it's twofold, and it is if they'd have taken it, they'd have been with Mercedes and probably causing some problems. Now we don't know how the tyres would have reacted on the Ferrari. They look pretty good on the mediums. They look like they could go forever. So you argue maybe they should have done it. If that second safety car caused by a Ferrari powered unit,
customer,
if that hadn't have happened, let's skip the fact that the pit lane shut. If that hadn't happened, I think it'd have been closer. I think it'd have pushed Mercedes closer to having to box again. And now I know it was only a VSC for a lap or two, but it slowed the Ferraris down. And at the time, I don't think Russell was catching particularly quickly. Now I know there's a tyre offset. I know the tyres were going to drop off. I like that Ferrari went for it. I like that Ferrari listened to Hamilton. I like that Hamilton's got his groove back.
But then they didn't listen to Hamilton, because obviously if you think Hamilton on both occasions was like, why on earth have we not brought? And I'll be honest, I agreed with Lewis. I
agreed with Lewis at the time.
At least one of them. At least bring one in. Yeah, I agree.
I just think, I mean, I'd be more concerned as a McLaren fan, and I'm sure that's going to come back and bite me in the arse at some point.
Don't you bring us up. You concentrate on your team that's cheating. We'll figure it out.
You see, Laura asked me that during the race. She said, "You going well? Are you cheating?" And I went, "Probably," but I don't know where yet.
Your starts are cheating. That's a cheat code. That's like a cheat code that you used to learn. Do you know when you used to buy magazines for like old PlayStation 1 games and stuff, and it told you that if you press like square X upside down L2 and all that you're cheating on them starts. They need looking into.
Do you know what it felt like though? It felt like, you know, when you saw the pre-start come up and all the revs went up, and like you said, the cats met up and put the keys in the bowl.
Yeah.
You could almost see the two Ferrari guys going, "We don't need to yet."
Yeah. Let everybody else have a go if they want to. Whilst you bring up McLaren, because I'll briefly touch over them. I think obviously what happened to Piastri is a massive shame. It just continues this curse that Australian drivers can't do anything in Australia. It's bizarre that this just always happens to Aussies down under. It's mental. It's a shame for Piastri not even managing to start the race. As for Lando, I think at the start I was very worried. Very worried
into the race.
That lack of pace. But I think, in fairness to him, I thought he got into his groove during the course of the race. I think Zach Brown said similarly on an interview from the pit wall. I think he got into the race. I think he learnt a lot. And from my point of view, I think the fact that Mercedes are a million miles away from everybody at this moment in time. Ferrari are probably like half a mile back from them, is my understanding based on like one race. So they're right there with them. Red Bull are probably right there with them. It's just obviously Verstappen had a horrible qualifying and Hadjar retired.
Yeah.
So McLaren are fourth in that. And the fact that we sort of finished,
my world.
Yeah, and the fact that we finished fourth, I know it wasn't fourth, I know it was fifth, but the fact that we were sort of and still beat a Red Bull, although it was a Red Bull that came from 20th. I'm actually McLaren will sort this out. Like I'm incredibly confident that McLaren will get this right. So I'm not concerned at the minute I was concerned at the start of the race. I thought we had no pace whatsoever. And then I think Lando learned a lot about where to use the overtake, where to use the battery, where to conserve it, where to whatever. So, yeah, and considering we've been waxing lyrical about how good that Red Bull is, I thought Lando did a really good job of keeping Max at bay at the end. Yes, there's a tyre offset, and I get all that. But so it's not a great start from our point of view, but I don't think it's as bad as I possibly feared after testing. We said after the testing episodes, McLaren haven't shown anything. And I think it's pretty agreeable on race one that they haven't shown anything.
I think it's agreeable that they haven't shown anything because they haven't got anything. Sorry, they're not slow. I'm not, they're not Aston Martin. They're not Cadillac down at the back. They're not slow. It's just every other team, right? You pick out your top three. So Red Bull have Verstappen. And by the way, Hadjar was mega in qualifying.
Yeah, he was. He did well at the start of the race. Yeah.
I mean, he said he was struggling with the deployment, and it looks like that's something that drivers have to learn this year. But Red Bull will be all right. They've got Lauren Mekis, they've got a great car, and that engine's only going to get better, or they're only going to learn more about it. So you wouldn't worry about them. They've shown. Mercedes are cheating. The compression ratio nonsense that we talked about through is proving. It's not just that, though, is it? It's that deployment. They have got such good deployment in their batteries. So that's a clear cheat code.
Let's get on to that now, because go on. Sing his praises. You have to sing his praises after today. You have to.
Who?
You don't give me who. Who won the race?
There was
George Russell. No, I'm gonna wait till you do it. Even if this video is 3 hours long, I'm gonna wait till you do it.
I was gonna say, how long can everyone wait in silence before? All right. All joking aside, right? George Russell was immense this weekend. Absolutely immense. If you want my 1 point, and we've sung Antonelli's praises, by the way. He is a cracking driver.
Yeah.
Russell should have finished further ahead of him. He should have completely hammered that home and No, don't get me wrong. That is a criticism of no criticism.
Yeah. You're picking. You're splitting hairs there a little bit. Yeah, exactly. I know what you mean. I think that's one thing I will say. Fair play to Antonelli for getting in within 3 seconds. Antonelli, keep an eye on him, because if this is going to be the early stages of this season where the Mercedes are, like I say, half a mile ahead of the Ferraris and then they're about a million miles away from everybody else at early stages, Antonelli is going to keep George Russell very, very honest, because to finish that race sort of 3 seconds behind him, that for an 11-year-old kid who every time we mention,
can't even reach the pedals.
Every time we mention Kimi Antonelli's age, I think we take a year off. By the end of the season, he'll be minus 62. But fair play to, and I agree. But we've got to say it. Fair play to George Russell, winner of the Australian Grand Prix, takes a step towards, or the first step towards. Obviously, Mercedes take a massive step in regards to the Constructors' Championship as well.
A few more points from the weekend, then. Because I'm hoping you've all seen it. I hope you all understand just how excited we are by this season. Bortoleto and Audi, well done, take about, absolutely incredible performance. Arvid Lindblad, look,
my driver of the day, Arvid Lindblad. I know the obvious choice is Max Verstappen because he started 48th and finished 6th. So I know Max Verstappen is the obvious option, but my driver of the day, when you consider rookie, debut Grand Prix and all the rest of it, I thought from start to finish, I thought Arvid Lindblad was cool, was calm. Yeah. I thought he was brilliant.
And fighting. And he's battered Lawson, which is something we said in the pre-season. Lawson cannot let it happen. He has been.
Before you move on, because I did want to bring up a point about Lindblad. There was a point in the race where it was, I can't remember in which order, but I think it was Behrman 7th, Lindblad 8th, Bortoleto 9th. And do you know what I thought to myself? Maybe in sort of 5 to 10 years, somewhere along that time.
That'll be a red car, an orange car, and
it will be them three, and as long as their career trajectory continues on the way that it is for all three of them, that's going to be so interesting. If you've got, Bortoleto might not go to McLaren, whatever, but if you've got Behrman in a Ferrari, and if you've got that, that would be epic. I was quite excited to see that. But anyway, sorry.
Brundle called it. Well, it kind of follows on because Behrman was going to be my other shout out, to be honest with you, because I thought he drove a very sensible but exciting race. But what it leads to is Brundle called out in the race as well that these F2, F3 drivers of the new breed, which Antonelli is one as well, don't forget. Let's put him in.
Yeah.
He's got an advantage at the moment with the car.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to dismiss
No.
Antonelli. I just meant because those three were in that shot at the time. Sorry, yeah.
But they've got no fear. Some of the moves, especially Lindblad and Behrman, when they were going at each other, oh, it was fun to watch. It was a fun race. It was an enjoyable, and that's why I'll take third and fourth now, because Ferrari are in the mix. They're like that little snappy terrier dog. They've got this massive Alsatian, this big powerful unit that runs off down the road whenever it can. But what we had is these two snappy little chihuahuas, right?
As if calling one of the richest teams in Formula One history a snappy chihuahua.
Hear me out though. It's just one of those little ankle biting, annoying dogs that just keeps yapping and won't. They wouldn't let go, would they? As soon as Russell got in front, you had Leclerc popping up, and as soon as Leclerc and Russell started slowing each other down, you had Hamilton popping up for a little bit.
Yeah.
God, it was fun. It was fun, and you know what? Throw Red Bull and McLaren into the mix. That's going to be hilarious all season.
Well, that's the one thing. Yeah, I think Red Bull. It would have been interesting to see if Max didn't start 20th. What that would have been, because I think he's in there with them four.
Oh, absolutely.
If he's in there, obviously Hadjar retiring as well. If that doesn't happen, he's maybe in there too. And then the McLarens will get better. And obviously you consider what happens to Piastri. So we potentially have four. We don't know what's going to happen with Aston Martin. The Racing Bulls look good. Well, sorry, Lindblad did.
Good.
You know what I mean? Aston Martin might, like I say, all of a sudden, once they've sorted those gremlins out, they might be there or thereabouts. So that means Alonso will be up there.
Audi will be fast this year. I don't know when, but Audi will be fast.
Yeah. The other thing I will say, actually, sorry, another sort of fair play to all the teams, because if you consider, we only had, I think it was we have 7 teams finished. 5 retirements. So you consider that we knew Aston Martin weren't going to finish the race anyway because of the problems they've had. So that's only 3. If you get where I'm going with this.
2 didn't start the race.
Exactly that. 2 didn't start the race. Now, Piastri, Hulkenberg's maybe down to not understanding the regs. So too Piastri's. So the only retirement that we actually had was Bottas.
Yeah. Hadjar.
Oh, sorry.
There must have been 6.
Must have been 6. Sorry, yeah, all right, fair. But even so, when we've got all these new regulations and all that sort of stuff, to only have 6 retirements, I thought was fair play to all the teams for getting an understanding of that. And Aston Martin aside, it was only 1 car per team, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it wasn't like one team just don't have an understanding of it. We can argue Williams separately that they don't have an understanding of it, but that's maybe an episode for another, an argument for another time. Yeah. But yeah, for me, I thought brilliant. So as we wrap up our little review of the Australian Grand Prix, fair play to George Russell. Congratulations to you, winner of the first race of the season. Congratulations to Kimi Antonelli for second. Congratulations to Charles Leclerc for rounding off the podium. Congratulations to Mercedes and Ferrari for just cheating and getting away with it. The world will come back to get you.
Ferrari won't get away with it. They're just getting away with it so far.
Congratulations to Lando Norris for being best of the rest. I had to squeeze some in. I had to do something. I appreciate myself that was a nonsensical congratulations. Congratulations to Cadillac.
Start of the season then.
Yeah, congratulations to Cadillac for joining us. Congratulations to Audi for points on your debut with Bortoletto. Congratulations to Lindblad for points on your debut as well. That was a cracking race. The admin we needed to clear up is Anne versus Phil.
Yes. It was close. It was close.
It was close. From the start, I thought this isn't going to be close. Well, after qualifying, I thought I've won this. Yeah. And then I was a bit like, go away. As I've often said about Max Verstappen, more notably towards the back end of last season. So 1-0 to me on Ant vs Phil after Australia. Hamilton finished 4th, Verstappen getting 6th. So it was closer than we thought. Where are you going for China? In fact, I win, so I get to go first. I'm going to go with my shout for the World Championship. I think he's untouchable at the minute, and I think without a big gap, I think he's pretty untouchable. Although the Ferraris did run well at China before when the race ended last year.
We're trying to get away from being checked.
Yeah. I'm going to go Russell.
See. I'm going to back my boys. I'm going to go Charles.
Are you sticking with? So we are. So we picked these two for the World Championship. We didn't pick them for Australia, which turned out to be a stupid decision on both our part. We are now both backing them for the second race of the season.
Yeah, I just think Ferrari will have learnt a lot.
Okay. And one thing I did, fair play to all the teams. I thought all the teams learned a lot during the course of the race as well. And I think it kind of calmed down in a bit. And one thing we didn't have this. Sorry, I feel like I'm going all over the place. I'm just a bit excited. One thing we didn't have today, which I thought was good, is we didn't have that lull in the middle of a race where everybody's just like. Maybe it was because the tyres were conservative, but we didn't. I didn't think we had that period during the race where everybody was just winding down. Yeah, it carried on.
But I don't know if everyone was knackered.
I know, yeah.
Every driver's just going, Jesus, how many more?
This is hard work, yeah. Okay, so that is it. So for China next year, for China next week, we are going to go. I'm going to go with George Russell, the winner, of course. Today's race. Phil's going to back Ferrari and go with Charles Leclerc. You say you're going to back your boys, but you didn't back them today, did you?
No.
So we will continue to investigate and we'll let you know if we can find any more on Mercedes and Ferrari's cheating. It's going to be a boring 2026. This is not me being biased in these colours at all. No, fantastic start to the season. Qualifying was biz, as we said, but if it's going to give us that sort of racing, then I will absolutely take that all hands down. We will see you next week because it is the first sprint of the season, and I'm hoping that these new regs make sprints worthwhile too. That is a really interesting thing to watch out for. Anything else from you, Phil, before we sign off?
Roll on next race. Yeah, I'm up for it now. Here we go.
Agreed. I was going to say we'll see you in China, but we of course won't be in China. But we will see you right here next week for the Chinese Grand Prix. But as for us this week, that's it. See you later.